tonight, what we had wanted to do was to give everyone an experience where we will all be together chanting a particular mantra. And the mantra that we have chosen to really focus on is the mantra to the Avalokitesvara, who is the Buddha of compassion in the Tibetan tradition. And so the Om Mani Padme Hum, probably, Jonathan, is the most popular Tibetan mantra.
Except for Om. Om is like got everybody beat in any tradition.
Well, and Om is, interestingly, Om begins almost all mantras.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Om begins it, and in Om Mani Padme
And the hum ends it. Om.
And Om Mani Padme Hum. And so anyway, so tonight we want to talk a little bit about the Avalokitesvara and the Om Mani Padme Hum, because the translation is very interesting. It is the jewel in the center of the lotus. Now, let's sort of tease that apart, because what we're really talking about is the jewel representing compassion, the jewel within the lotus of the heart. So it is the compassion that we want to have embodied in our heart chakra. And so when we are chanting this beautiful mantra tonight, we are going to be embodying, if you will, compassion.
And what's really important, there are a million things that are really important, but one of the things that we're going to do before we actually do the chant, after we've learned the pronunciation, which is pretty fun to do, is really just spend a moment contemplating on what compassion means to you. Because compassion means different stuff to different people. And on a level, this mantra it was initially done as just a great tool to generate compassion, but it has, like all great mantras, it has many, many different uses. It's done as, once again, a method of generating compassion toward other beings, as a prelude to personal communication with higher levels of consciousness, for purification and to ensure higher realm rebirth. So it's used not only to purify, but also in the process of birth and in transitioning. And really, whatever experience we have, each one of us will end up with a different and unique and powerful experience through the chanting of Om Mani Padme Hum, which can only lead to the uplifting of the body, mind, and spirit.
Well, we're going to be opening the jewel of compassion for ourselves as we chant this chant. And I do want to mention that the Mani Padme is the combination of divine wisdom and supreme compassion. So this chant, this mantra, has very profound and deep meaning. And so one of the things, as Jonathan, you just mentioned, I like to ask people to kind of take a moment and go within. And what does compassion mean to you when you think about it? It does mean many things to different people. I know, just a few thoughts: compassion, loving kindness, non-judgment. And of course, I like the compassion is the passion that arises for the wish that all beings be free from suffering.
That's beautiful, huh?
And so as we're kind of taking time to go within, see what comes up for yourselves.
Yeah, so let's take a moment here and just, I'll tell you what. I'm going to hit this for a moment and just Think about what compassion means to you. What does compassion mean to you? And I want to suggest too that we're going to be in this video looking at different tankas of the Avalokitesvara, the Buddha of Divine Compassion. And I hand imprinted the particular part of the mantra on the over the picture of the Avalokitesvara while the music was going underneath. It was my dedication to just creating a really high experience. So you'll see the Om and the Mani and the Padme and the Hum come on, etc. But the Avalokitesvara, note about him, he is the Buddha or Boddhisattva of Compassion. But the Chinese, for example, have transformed this being into the female deity of Kuan Yin. And I'd like to suggest that because these are just, if you like, anthropomorphizations or whatever, these are, our attempt to, they're just energy forms. And if you perceive it as like Tara, the consort of the Avalokitesvara as a female aspect in the Tibetan tradition, or even someone like Mother Mary, or even the Christ energy, because they're, whatever you perceive of as being an aspect of compassion, work with this, because this chant really does, it transcends time, space, and any boundaries of tradition. So you can work all the different entities of compassion love to be called, regardless of what language it comes in.
That's right. That's right. And I think probably many of the people who are joining us tonight will be familiar with the Om Mani Padme Hum mantra. But for those who may not be, Jonathan, let's go over the actual pronunciation. It's a very short mantra, and it is Om Mani
Padme Hum.
Let's say that together, Jonathan.
Om Mani Padme Hum. Do once more. Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. And before we do this, I have to tell you a little bit about this. Nobody has ever experienced the music before that we're about to do. The pictures were taken from various collections of the Avalokitesvara, and this obviously, since I hand imprinted the syllables of the mantra on there, that's never been done. But this music, I don't know where it came from. I mean, I found it in my computer. It was done by me in my files. It was done by me, and it featured a whole lot of fabulous sound healers, from our beloved Sarah Benson to Lama Tashi to hundreds of people just chanting. But I could tell the way that I listened to it that it somehow had been done in the studio. It wasn't done as one of our live intensive things. And I found it one time and I listened to it and I said, wow, where did this come from? This is great. And this is the first time that anybody is actually hearing it. So I call it the Magic Mani. And the Mani, M-A-N-I, is just an abbreviation for the Om Mani Padme Hum. So this is the Magic Mani. And I just feel that it was given to share with you all. So I trust that through our chanting with this, it's beautiful to listen to, but do chant along with it, sing along with it, whisper it, vocalize it in some level so that you can hear and feel the energy of this chant. And at the same time, let's take a couple nice deep breaths before we begin. Garth, begin to get this ready to be queued up. It's going to be a minute, but just take a moment and think about compassion. What does compassion mean to you, and how can we generate compassion to others throughout the planet? What would happen if people were kind to each other?
And how can we generate compassion to ourselves? Because then we can send it out to all sentient beings. So taking some nice deep breaths, we'll begin our video.
Okay, we're ready. Okay, I'll start again.
Get our
So,
technology in order here.
yes, well, doing that chant really buzzed me out and I hit the wrong button. And it's okay,
Yeah.
because you need to be in a little bit of silence
Mhm.
after you've done that chant. Because it is really in the silence that the real power of the chant and the connection to those things. We trust this is the first
Yes.
time anybody's experienced that. And I can't see you all raise your hand if you had a good time, but I trust that a lot of you did,
Yeah.
and that it was a powerful, powerful experience. Thank you.
Mm. Yes, we do hope that it somehow opened up that jewel of compassion in your hearts. And, now that you know this chant, this mantra, chant it whenever you feel like it. I know even for us, we have a prayer wheel on the dashboard of our car, and it's continuously circling Om Mani Padme Hum, and I
Right.
feel we're sending out compassion
Right.
to the world.
So it's sending out compassion, sending out sort of protection for us, compassion for others, and it's a great, nice thing. And this is just a wonderful chant. Listen, one of my favorite books is Creative Visualization and Multidimensional Consciousness, which is this thick, by a German Tibetan Lama named Lama Govinda. It is nothing more or less than a treatise on the Om Mani Padme Hum. And so it's like, it can get really complicated if you want to look into the different layers of the complexity of this chant. We just wanted to present something simple and easy that you could try if you want to generate compassion for yourself. It's good for protection. It's good for healing. It's good for all sorts of things. Just one of many, many different mantras that can be used. It is the most popular mantra in Tibet besides Om, but
And Tara is also.
Tara is very popular. We love Tara too. In fact,
Yeah.
Tara and the Avalokitesvara, two of our favorite deities, because they work with the energy of compassion.
Yeah.